So hi, Welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Sean from While She Sleeps.
And we have some questions to say about the upcoming album Self Hell. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Fucking great. Let's get it out. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, I'm very excited to we're nearly there now. So yeah, buzzing.
Yeah, hell yeah. The album is fucking awesome.
I am blown away. Front to back. Yeah? Fucking incredible.
Good. That's what we need to hear.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yes, both. The album name it's something that me and Loz stumbled across in the midst of trying to come up with a name, but the content, the lyrical content and everything that we sing about is relevant either way, because we always sing about, and the things that we talk about have a theme. It's throughout everything that we do. It only comes from a place of experience and things that we've been through ourselves. But this time round, when we were coming up with the album name, we stumbled across Self Hell. Now, when you write down Self Hell, if you want to go and write down self-help, you will physically write self-help before finishing self-help. And then we thought that was really cool because in any case, any kind of personal, turbulence or turmoil that goes on within, it's usually the catalyst for real change to take place is at the very brink of the pain. When it's kind of like a make or break situation, which I think most people have been in. I know I have a couple of times where it's almost like suicide or change. And I know that's a bit of a brutal way to say it, but they're the walls that people find themselves in, and those are the catalysts for real change. So we thought it was a really cool way to show that to get self-help, whether it's external, but usually the case, it's really the switch internal to help yourself. Only happens once you've been through your own personal hell. Self-hell comes first. So you can't really force this, like that, the saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That those changes that need to happen within people for people to get better in some sense, or for them to change their life, has to happen internally on their own. So that's really what it's about. And I think me personally, and the rest of the boys for sure, but that's something that all I can really talk about is that struggle within life. I get a weird feeling in my stomach when I feel that no one converses enough about just existence as a whole. It's amazing and it's magical, and it's also crazy and scary and painful. Yeah. So when I get into the motions of feeling that everyone's just going on with their daily life and earning your money and just getting on with shit, it's always made me feel very uneasy. So it's always been a part of me to say to people, we are going to die, don't forget. Like things like that really mean something to me, because I hate the constant grind of the reality that we're supposed to live. We're supposed to be worker bees and just forget about this thing that we call existence or whatever it is. So yeah, long story short, that's what it's about. It's about that. It's about really that pinnacle moment in everyone's life only really comes at the end of a really tough experience. That's for the album name. The album artwork, for me, it's really signifying that, as you can see, the emblem is still quite visibly there. That's who we are. That's the image that we've created over the past 17 years. That's what we're about. You can see that. But you can also see that it's been broken. So the break for me is really signifying that although we are the same people and we're the same brand, if you will, we're not also scared to change and try new things. Like, we will break your image of us for ourselves. Not scared to write music. We're not going to write music for you or for fans. We're going to write music for ourselves. And that is really signifying that we will do what we want regardless of the consequences. And I want everyone to kind of like remember that and see that for all artists, the fact that people get shocked when people do something different, still to this day, just I don't understand it. Everyone, life itself is change, constantly in flux. But what we do as humans, we try and knock down our ideas as if they're going to stay there forever. But in 10 years' time, you might even, people forget that, yes, people change, but the listener changes too. Their ears are changing, the way they perceive music changes, but then they come at the artist for breaking their image identification that they had with you. So they put part of their self in you. But when you do something that doesn't resonate with the image they've created, then it hurts, and then they attack.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that's what it represents, that stupid philosophy that people carry, that people must be the same. But I understand that change is hard for everyone, and I think sometimes change happens on its own without your consent. Sometimes it happens when you lean into it, and self-hell is really us leaning into the change.
Yeah. The idea of like you have to go through your self-hell to then get the self-help. Was that kind of the idea going into this writing process, to kind of write about that, or did that idea reveal itself as the writing process kind of started for this record?
It revealed itself, but for me, most of my inspiration moments come in a very odd way. Like, I think in a backwards way, it speaks to me post the fact a lot of the times. Like, it's hard to explain, but like, I don't really consciously do that much of the writing. I create the necessary surroundings to make a song, and then I'll put on my guitar, and then I'll put the lyrics on. That's great. I'm writing a song, but something deeper is at play when I'm doing this. Like, the subconscious is doing something that my conscious mind is not really a part of, something a lot more complicated. And I realize that fact later when you go back and listen to the song. Like now I'm listening to the songs being released. I'm like, holy shit, that's what we were feeling at that time. Because you don't really know. And to kind of admit that you do, I don't think that exists personally for me anyway. It's always in retrospect. Now, you see, this is where I think the universe does really strange things at times. The name came probably 70% of the album being finished, so it's nearly done. Then Self-Help, the name came afterwards, but that name completely links up with everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like it was ready to come anyway, but it wasn't there yet. And that's where, like, I love the idea of just the tapestry of everything kind of just works at the same time. So, like, I've had this experience before. This is a weird one where I'd written a song. This is going to sound really weird. I think it was Fake as Plague. We did this like extended version at the end, and I was doing lots of mushrooms at the time. And we did Fake as Plague. I had a mushroom trip.
Okay.
And then during the mushroom trip inspired me to write the song that I'd already written. So that's the feeling I'm talking about, where it, like, self-help came later, but it was almost like it was already there too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And kind of with this album just around the corner, it's about to come out. You've already said, like, you guys wrote this album for yourself. You're trying to break the fans' preconceived conception of your music and your band. Do you still have that little bit of anxiety in you where it comes out to release it, where it's like, God, I hope they still like it, though. It's different, but I really hope they like it.
Yeah, of course. It's not like, I don't want to watch the world burn in that sense. Like, the excitement comes from me is, like, when we released Self-Hell, we knew this was going to cause some shit. That's why we did it. Like, I wanted the fucking pushback. We're like, we didn't want to be this nice guy band that never gets any shit. We're like, let's cause some fucking shit. Let's scare everyone. So yes, I wanted that. That was just on the face of it, just exciting. Fuck the music, fuck everything else. That was just fun. To watch people squirm when we don't give a shit. That was just fun to watch the internet do its thing, right? So totally. But obviously, when we put a lot of work into this, I want people to understand what we're doing, and I think this is a typical response when you try something new. Like I say, the image gets broken a bit, people get scared, defensive, and then they attack.
Yeah.
But typically, what happens is give it some time, let them relax and their emotions settle down. And then they'll have another chance to listen to it when they're not fogged by their fear. And then typically they tend to really like it and they get into it. So I think I want people to understand what we're doing with the album, and to of course I want people to resonate with it. But I think I definitely took the risk in some areas where I'm like, I'm prepared to lose some people to gain some more, because that, if you don't do that, in some respects you're kind of not doing anything worth expanding. And that doesn't necessarily always mean trying to be more mainstream. It just means expanding. So I almost made that pact with myself. I'm prepared to lose a few to gain a few. I kind of made that with myself.
That's fair
And
enough.
I don't think you'll be losing any fans,
No, yeah,
honestly,
for sure,
because
yeah.
the old stuff is still there if they don't resonate with this record. This record just isn't for them then.
I totally agree. Like,
Yeah.
it's just people are so sensitive these days, and I think people want something so hard to believe in or not to believe in. So people are just so on edge with everything. That's why I generally don't give a shit about the way the internet does its thing. And that was part of my inspiration, is being like, why don't we just do whatever we want and then just see what happens? And like, people make such a big deal about so little things at times where I'm just like, yes, maybe that isn't the song for you. I'm like, it's just a fucking song. Listen to another one. Just don't waste your time. And I mean, I'm talking like it's this massive change. It's not this massive change. It's just it will be perceived that way because people are so sensitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you someone that reads the comments, or do you stay away from that?
No, I read comments, but there's no longer any emotional investment in the give or take. Don't get me wrong, I'll take an ego boost for sure. I'll read the comments. I'm like, yes, they're loving it. Fucking hell, I'll take that. But when I get more enjoyment out the bad comments now, because the effort it takes to do that shit just blows my mind. Like no offense to people that comment anyway, but I'm like, number one, if you comment, you're partially insane anyway, whether it's positive or negative. I'm just like, so to get into these battles and defending people you don't know, and like, it's just so, and people's lives are so complicated, and they should know that. That it's just, I don't know, it's more fun to me. Like I said, like when we released Self Hell, I was kind of like, like sat down having a bit of fun with it. So yeah.
Fair enough. So what song off this album took longest to write, and which is your personal favorite?
Longest to write? They all take a minute. Like, we really don't consider ourselves to be professional musicians, and I never will. We're just a bunch of guys that are just making this work, and it seems to, whatever we're doing seems to work, and we enjoy doing it. So we take a long time to make music because, we're not professionals. We just piece things together, do what we can. And so we take a long time, just in general. My favorite song, I think, is probably To the Flowers, to be honest, just because as much as I love big riffs, I love breakdowns and stuff like that, but a lot of that to me can become quite comical in this day and age, where it's like just heavy for heavy's sake. And it's like, in the scene, it just drives me nuts, man, where everyone's like, have you heard this band? I'm like, okay, let's listen to it. And it's just so heavy. It's almost like a joke. It's just almost like it's just trying to be heavy just to make you go, wow.
That's
and I'm
heavy.
like, yeah, wow, it's heavy. And I'm like, is that the only reason they've made that bit or whatever? So, so yeah, as much as the next person, I love a good riff. But To the Flowers is really why I'm in this mess in the first place. Is those kind of emotions that get evoked is really why I love doing this, and that's really how I feel inside. That's when I'm talking with my guitar. That's when that's why. Yeah, like I said, I feel like that's why I'm in this mess, is because of those kind of songs. And I'm glad that one turned out to be the way it was, because it's resonating very hard. And I'm glad because it resonates with me too. And that's really, if you could put a microphone in my veins, that's what it'd sound like. So that's probably my favorite.
Hell yeah. Great pick. That was also my favorite. The opening riff, just the opening, like fucking 20, 30 seconds of it almost brought me to tears, because it was just big. And I was like, holy shit. What the fuck did they put in this? Incredible. I just wanted to go back. You said that your just writing process is just long. You guys don't consider yourself professional musicians. Could you walk us through that process? Like, is it like weeks, months, days? What do you consider a long writing process?
Well, I think an album takes us a year to 2 years in general. But this is from like, I'm already writing for the next album, so I'm always writing stuff, and I'll write like minute to 2 minute ideas. Minute to 2 minute ideas, and then that's where it'll stay, and then that'll get banked for a minute, and then other people might have lyrics here and there, and then when the time comes, I might show someone one idea, and we're in that writing space, and then maybe Loz will be like, "Oh, let me sing this over that," and that's usually how it starts. I usually get a backbone of music. Someone will sing something on it. I'm like, "Oh." And then that gets me going again. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll finish that section there, then that can go into that.
Yeah.
But what I struggle with the most is really finishing those pieces of music and being like, is that a song or is it just something? So like, that's where I struggle with. I'm like, yeah, that's a good bit there, good bit there, good bit there. I'm like, is it a fucking song though? Do you want to listen to it again and again? But yeah, like I said, a year to 2 year, I'd say it's, I'm writing now. So if you think of that, we'll probably release maybe an album in a year and a half or something.
Okay.
So I'm writing now, and that's kind of the beginning process of it. Because just writing keeps me sane in general. That's just, like I said, that's like, it's almost like I get to hear what I'm thinking at the time. Like I said, in retrospect, that's just why I do it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So how are you able to tell the difference between the beginnings of a song versus, this is just a good part that I wrote?
I think when a chorus arrives, and I'm really still I'm learning as I go now. Like, what makes music? How do I want my music to be perceived? And when I find music that I like, which is rare, I love it and I cannot stop listening to it. It's addictive. So I want my music to be addictive and to have something that you just can't wait to put in your ears and have that moment with it and be on your own. That's why I love it. So I think I don't know, because what you're saying, now I'm trying to figure out that when you have this one great idea, I think I spend too much time trying to build all this thing around it. But when I really listen to the great songs and the great songs that I want, it's always just like this one thing, and then that is the song.
Yeah.
They just make that the thing. Whereas I'm like, oh, we need to put a verse around it. Of course, we need an intro and an outro. And then I almost like dilute a lot of my stuff trying to make this thing, when in reality, I can make the song out of the thing that is the thing. Because with metal music, I have it's like you have a journey. Whereas my mindset is changing now, where I want you to put your headphones in and I want you to be there. I want you to be enjoying the thing that you want right now. I don't want you to have to go through this big breakdown, pre-chorus build-up to get to the chorus. So that's my mind frame now. So really, what you're saying about these little ideas, those little ideas are those are the main things, because that can carry the entire song.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
So how did the track list come about for this record? Did you write the opener to be the opener, close to be the closer? Did you shuffle around to see what fits? What was that process like?
This is basically the last thing we do. And we always just try and keep the listener in mind, and especially new fans as well. How do we keep them engaged to finish the record? Because there's nothing worse than feeling like people just listen to the singles. We want you to listen to the record. So it's really about keeping the way it enters into the album. There's a couple of different vibes throughout the song. And for example, Leave Me Alone and Rainbows, I feel, are in the same category of feeling. So we wanted you to kind of stay there and be like, whoa, keep you in that realm for a minute and then take you out of it. So it's always a conscious decision to think, maybe we should slow it down there, maybe have a break here. So the listening experience is kind of, you get a palate cleanser. There's always like No Feeling Is Final is kind of a distortion break, so you can take a minute and then get back to it and be blown away again. It's like you can't eat the same cake every day and just be buzzing. You need a break.
Yeah.
So we definitely design it in that way. So the experience is dynamic, and you're like, I've not heard a guitar in a while. Wow. Or I've not heard a solo in a minute. Bang. And then it gets you like, same within the songs as well. That's how you make things hit. If I'm doing a solo on every song, no one would care about my guitar work.
Yeah.
You got to wait for the right moments to.
Exactly. You cracked the code.
Yeah. Curious about the placement of To the Flowers in particular, because when I heard that single for the first time before hearing the full record, I was like, this has to be the closer. This has to be. And then I looked at the track list and I'm like, now my entire world has shifted because this isn't the closer. So I'm curious as to why it's placed at track 9, I believe, versus the end.
There's no particular reason for that. I think because we knew this was going to be a single, this is going to get a big lot of people, the majority of our fans are going to know this song. So again, you also don't want to bore people with the 4 singles at the beginning of the record and just make them skip. You kind of want to keep them engaged with something they've not heard. And down to obviously To the Flowers, down is before it. So it reads Down to the Flowers. And that was the conscious, we had a bit of a thing trying to figure out do we call that Down? That one's called Down, but this says Down in it, and that's so. We thought it was quite cool to say Down, and then just next to it, to the flowers, it kind of says it for you.
Gotcha.
So yeah, no real content. Yeah, that's kind of the reason for that.
All right, fair enough. So where was your headspace at while you were writing this album?
Good, I think. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, it was good then. Don't know if it's very good now, but yeah, I think albums really teach you a lot about yourself because they really they're like a time capsule of your life for us anyway. Like I can go back to each album and be like, oh yeah, I had a breakdown then. Oh yeah, I was doing loads of drugs at that point. Oh yeah, I was you know what I mean? Like that's how it works. And this one was, you know, I put so much into these records. I'd probably damaged myself by doing so much, but that's how it works. I think that's how we are successful because we just don't really stop and we just keep going and going. And I think that resonates and people can see that, like I said, this is like, we're not professionals. This is all we have. So we just give it all the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is that not exhausting? You say, you know, you're kind of damaging yourself in the process because you put so much of yourself into it. That self-destructive cycle, I guess, to put it in a heavier way, that's awful and tiring. How do you kind of distance yourself from that when you aren't writing?
Well, I'm very health conscious. I am these days anyway. I'm at the gym every day and take care of myself. Those things I know are important. Meditate all the time. All of that world I'm into for sure. It's more so that I get so into it, I can other things in my life lose attention is more akin to it. Like I place the importance of this above so much that I leave people out at times, which is not cool. But that's just the way I've always been. And yeah, see, when there's no deadlines, my writing process is actually like is my therapy. Actually, I love this. I feel good about this, and this is what gives me life. Only towards like the back end of it maybe gets stressful and everything gets a bit on top of you because deadlines are in place. You've got expectations and the business side of it comes in. But yeah, I mean, I've had unhealthy records, that's for sure. I mean, we used to be completely different people. We used to I used to do drugs all the time. All we used to do is get fucking wasted, basically. That's all we did. That was the means of the band. The band used to be, let's quickly get off stage so we can get fucked up. That's really what we was about. And now we're all sober, really. So it's and we've been sober for a while. That's nothing new. But like I said, these are the journeys that a band. We're like, every band has probably been through this stereotypical world where, I mean, we've got tattoos and then you used to drink all the time. It's like it just comes with it.
Yeah.
But now we're out of that. Yeah, I think it's about time management and stress management, and because we're self-managed and we have a label, but only for distribution. So it's really all in house. So it definitely gets it gets a lot, and you got to watch that shit.
Yeah,
for sure. And congratulations on the sobriety, by the way.
Yes, congrats.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they play it in the car with friends, dark with headphones on? Should they work out to it? What do you personally recommend?
I'm a headphone guy, and I'd go for a walk. That's my vibe. But obviously the gyms we're very popular in the gym for lots of people. But I'm put your fucking headphones in and go for a walk. Or even laid at home, you know what I mean? Like on your couch or something. Like that's how I listen to music. But yeah, or my car. My car is actually like probably my favorite sound system. Rather than definitely, I'm in the studio now, but definitely not studio monitors, and I don't like that shit. It's too clinical.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd do that. Take some time and stick your fucking headphones in.
All right. You're one of the first artists I've heard say, I don't like to listen to the music in the studio. It's like too good.
No, it's not like, it's studio monitors are designed to be flat. They're designed to show you the nuances of it. It's supposed to be, they're honest. So yes, it sounds good, but it's got no, it's the least character that you can get in a sense, because it's giving you not least character, but there's no post. There's no vibe.
Yeah.
There is vibe.
Great.
I make it here. So I don't want to sit and listen to it here. You want to listen to it with like a bit of sub and a bit of like, I've got a sub in here. I'm not making much sense, but you want to listen to it in a listener's from the listener's perspective.
Yeah.
Not every listener is going to go and have like £4,000 fucking like monitors and be like, nice. No one listens to music like that. They listen with fucking AirPods, whatever they're fucking called.
Yeah.
So our producer will put those in and he'll mix with them in, because that's the majority of people will listen to these. They're not going to listen on them. So I think a lot of stuff's changing in the production world in that aspect. Like, yes, make them sound great on monitors, but how many people listen to on monitors? So make it sound good for
everyone.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So this question should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Oh, fuck. Ballsy. Fresh. Sleeps.
Was your first word moldy?
No,
Okay,
ballsy.
Okay.
that's what I thought.
Okay. I was like,
I heard
moldy
both.
and then fresh. I was like, whoa.
It's a bit moldy. Maybe balls is not the best one, but we've got our bollocks out. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So is there a certain feeling or emotion you want this album to invoke in your listeners?
Yeah, always a sense of relatability and inspiration. That's really the cornerstone of any music for me, really. You want to feel inspired to do something yourself, and you want to feel heard. I love it when someone says something that you was feeling or thinking, but you didn't even know you were thinking or feeling it, and then they say it and you go, holy fucking shit, that's it. So that accompanied with music is very special. And just addictive. Like, I love that feeling of like, it's almost physical. And you're like, yeah, I've got to fucking listen. I mean, this is a weird example, but I only found out about Aphex Twin a couple of years ago, and I've become a huge fan. And my favorite song by him is this track just called Number 3, and it's just ambience. It's barely nothing. But just the way the notes move, it's insanely addictive. And it's so introspective, and it's crazy how it does that to you. And only a handful of songs will do that to you. But when you do get those songs, you're like, oh man, this is insane. And I honestly think it's happening now to The Flowers. To The Flowers is performing better than any of the other singles. And I genuinely think it's because people have been like, people are saying like it feels like a song that they've been waiting for their entire life.
Yes.
That's the shit. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want people to feel. And they're not going to get that with all the songs, but the whole album, I want people to walk away and be like, holy shit, that was new. That's fresh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
can you talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
I think the challenging aspects for me as a writer is I'm essentially the internal producer of the band. So I'm like directing a lot of the songs. And I do so much of that work that I actually fall away from my talent as a guitarist and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of focus on like arrangement and melodies, and does Loz's vocals sound good enough for this section, or do we need to lower the key of the song, and all the logistics of it. And sometimes I lose myself of what I'm really good at. So that's challenging for me to balance that. I always learn lessons when the album's finished. I look back at the album and I'm like, that's where I went wrong. And this is one where I'm like, for the next one, I'm now going to amend that. And every time I amend something, so this time, I think I spent a lot of time making sure everyone else was happy with their input, that I maybe pulled back a little bit too much at times where I could have been more, because I've always been so involved. I wanted everyone to feel very comfortable that it was just, really everyone's album. So now I know I'm ready to pick that back up and go back to my guitar. Not that I haven't been, but like I said, when you're always worrying about, because I was doing a lot of engineering as well and recording people, so I can't be creative and make sure I've got Loz's takes. So it's just like, that's been a weird balance for me, but positive one, I suppose. And really, just on the whole, that we had so much fun making the record. We went to a brand new studio to record the drums. That was a breath of fresh air, and just it was almost just like we were at school fucking around and not being like we've got this, this huge career to keep up with. It was never like, it was just like, oh shit, put that there. Oh, let's try that there. Sick. The entire process was like that. Hence why some of the songs are just like, this doesn't make no sense. But it was fun. So that's why we did it.
Yeah.
And I think that'll continue where you're like, this doesn't make no sense for While She Sleeps. So that, and I really enjoy that because nothing is absolute, especially not a band, especially not people. So when people, don't lock us down because you can't. If you listen to Self Hell and if you listen to The Flowers, they are two different bands. So how on earth can you judge when everything is constantly in flux? Well, like a flower, flowers grow and they change and blossom. You know what I mean? That's just how life is. That's how people are.
Yeah.
So to judge so quickly on anything, you're just a fool because not only is the thing constantly in flux, but so are your ideas and the way that you perceive things are constantly in flux. So you cannot, everyone's trying to nail down their own ideas to feel like they are something.
Yeah.
But in the reality is everything's completely changing. Your whole identity is subject to change.
Yeah.
Everything will change overnight. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit deep. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, you're fucking cooking.
Yeah, you were cooking. I was hoping you'd keep going. You were cooking hard.
Yeah. My God. Okay. So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
I love sandwiches.
Okay.
Probably my favorite cuisine, as embarrassingly English as that is. I'd probably get a sandwich, some crisp, and maybe a sparkling water.
Ooh, okay. What's sandwich though? Because sandwiches that's such a broad thing.
That's true. That's true. I'd like maybe like an egg sandwich. I mean, it's pretty boring, but
on a tour bus?
Oh yeah. I mean, it depends. It really depends where we're at. That's like I'm talking. This is probably like a last resort. I can't find any food situation, so
Okay.
I'll get a sandwich and some crisp. But yeah, that's I've not got the most exhilarating answer for that one.
That's okay.
It's honest.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
If the band was a dish, would be a big fucking bowl of cheesecake because we're all heavily addicted to cheesecake.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you guys all have like a favorite cheesecake that you all bond over, or does everyone have like one's Oreo, one's New York, one's?
Well, the last time I was in South America, somehow out of nowhere, we started rating our cheesecakes, and I don't know why. I think I had one in Brazil, and I was like, "This is the best cheesecake I've ever had." And everyone was like, "You can't say that. That's too big of a statement." I'm like, "It is." And then ever since then, every place we go, we just rate the cheesecakes.
Yeah.
There's those Basque cheesecakes. There's like really small ones, the raspberry ones. So now we just rate the cheesecakes, and I guess that's where it comes from.
Okay.
I love it. Hell yeah. So for these last couple questions, we're going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you. Awesome. So we're actually going to go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Wow, you guys really like the food situation.
We do.
We do. Yeah, we are food enjoyers.
Yeah.
Last meal, bro. This is serious.
Yeah.
Dude, it's one of the things. Is that was your favorite song? I'm like, yeah, it's an impossible question.
Yeah.
It might have to be, just like a fucking good pasta.
Ooh.
And some maybe some pasta, and maybe I can squeeze in 2 meals equally, and I can have a cheesy garlic bread, which almost doubles as the pizza, but it kind of goes with the pasta.
Yeah.
And I always have a sparkling water with every meal, so I love a sparkling water. But if it's going to be my last meal, I'll have 3 drinks. I'd have a sparkling water.
Okay.
I'd have a coconut water, a real coconut, ice cold, and I'd probably, just to be naughty, I'd have a Coca-Cola, even though I never drink Coca-Cola. But if I'm feeling naughty, I would.
All right. That's a way
great
to go
selection.
out.
Yeah, great selection.
So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Like, does it have to be already in existence? Like off a film or something?
We usually base it like, books, movies, comics. But I mean, if you have a made up world in your head,
We're not looking for you to build to build a world with this question.
To build a world.
Yeah, you don't have to do all that.
I mean, off the top of my head, this makes no sense. But Alice in Wonderland's world.
Ooh.
I mean, that's just off the top of my head, just because it gives me such a weird feeling. I think I've always like, especially the cartoon version of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with that.
All right, sounds
pick.
good.
Hell yeah. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again.
Another stumper.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm trying to think, not consciously, but subconsciously, because I don't have a favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But I'm wondering what I get quite attracted to yellow a lot.
Damn right.
So, like luminous yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and anything luminous. So I'd say luminous yellow, to be honest. Let's go with
Damn
that.
right. That is the best color ever. So correct choice.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
there we go.
Perfect.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
All right. So as Gloria said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, make sure you listen to all the album before you judge and start crying about everything. They take a lot of time to make. They cost a lot of money, and I really appreciate everyone's attention, listening to our band and supporting us and allowing us to still do this after all these years. I genuinely think every Sleeps fan will be very happy with the album.
Hell yeah.
Right.
All right.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for now. It's been Sean from While She Sleeps, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.